We'll trust you to do that.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Camberwell Arts closing party on Zoom. We might not all be together, but we do have a drink in hand. And to start us off, first of all, everyone's very welcome, but we'd like to show our very last commissioned work for the festival. So I'm going to pass you over to Vicky Stone, who's going to show us We Are Not Okay.
Hi everyone. Hello. Hi. I'm Vicky Stone and I am a composer and theatre maker, and I wanted to write a song that captured how I was feeling during this time. And I tend to write songs that are on the funnier side, and when I sat down to write it, I just couldn't do it. I'm so consumed by what's happening in the arts that it's very hard for things to be light. You know, we're as a sector, as someone that makes their entire living doing this thing, it's very difficult. So I decided to reach out and find out what everybody else like me was feeling, and I wanted to find out. And put something together that hopefully represents what's happening in the arts right now. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And this is the song. It's called We Are Not Okay. Here it is.
I am not okay. We are not okay. This is weird and it's hard and it's shit. I am not okay. No, we are not okay. Cause it's weird and it's hard and it's shit.
Spending nearly £1 million on painting a plane when the country is facing mass redundancies and economic ruin. It's pretty weird.
Having a new baby and not knowing when I'm going back to work, that's hard.
Having to beg the government to support the arts. That's fucking shit.
This is the only living thing I had physical contact with for 2.5 months. That's weird. What's the hardest thing about lockdown?
Everything.
I am not okay. We are not okay. This is weird and it's hard and it's shit. I am not okay. No, we are not okay. Cause it's weird and it's hard and it's shit.
2 meters apart is weird.
The thing I find hard is that who knows when I'll be able to work again.
Not getting to take my 2-year-old son to a swimming lesson. That's shit.
Seeing my parents anti-back my dog. That's weird.
Another thing that's been really hard about the pandemic is celebrating my birthday over Zoom. Not being able to celebrate it and being on Greek Street. Sorry. This is a lot.
Not having a clue when I'm going to be able to make music in real life with another person when my whole life used to be orchestras and bands. That's shit.
I miss my family who live overseas. I don't know when I'll see them again or who they'll be when I do. I miss grand pianos. I miss libraries. I miss theatres. I miss sitting down in theatres and watching other people. I miss shuffling into seats. I miss programmes. I miss waiting to go on stage. I miss being backstage. I miss everything about theatres and everything that happens in them.
It's been really difficult to see the industry that I work in, we work in, and the industry that we love struggle so much and being neglected by the government.
Literally feels like I have no prospects and no options because everything that we were working towards has vanished.
Yeah, he really needs an audience, otherwise it's just him talking to himself in his bedroom. Yeah.
I'm scared of how much of that is going to survive this. I'm scared that there's not enough happening to protect our industries.
So we're all pretty stuck. This sucks.
To not have the foresight to buy shares in Zoom, that's shit.
That's it.
Vicky, that was fantastic. Sorry, we were all muted at that stage, so just it was brilliant. I think the video part didn't show up, but you're going to send it to me, and I'm going to edit it in, and it'll be fine. Yeah, brilliant. So it is interesting because you were planning to do something, well, not completely different, but you were going to work with music and voices anyway. But I guess as you went around, did people kind of say, "This is fine," but everything's fucked?
Yeah, that's it. I think the hard thing is I was going to sort of, I wanted to do that, I wanted to pull people in and make something, but the trouble is that right now, everything you're seeing in the media based on the arts is so hard to process. We're all grieving for our jobs, all of us, and I wanted to capture that. That felt more important to do.
And do you think there was any sort of levity that came out of being able to create art out of how, it was, people there did sound pained, but you had quite a chirpy tune to go with it. What was it called? Pumped Up Kicks, the weirdest song of the 20th century.
Yeah, I think the music was designed to be nice, I suppose, not particularly nice to listen to, so it could work as a underscore as well as a chorus, and I didn't actually write any verses. I wanted people to have their own experiences, and then the verses became the people speaking.
Wow. But it seemed to work as well as a song. Sometimes people try and put like strange rap interludes into pieces. But I think anybody else, I quite liked it. And I think it could be a nice rallying cry. We get it out there.
Yes, I'm going to put it on Twitter, and there's some quite high profile people in there, including Paul Chuckle of the Chuckle Brothers, and so hopefully.
Amazing that he's still going.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's affecting everyone. I've got everyone in there, from somebody that's just graduated from drama school to somebody like Paul Chuckle, who's been doing it for 60 years, and it's affecting all of us.
And just to kind of talk to everyone else here a little bit, has anyone found any respite recently in how things are going? Anybody found a little bit of joy in how we've been locked down and started making some art again? I guess it's more so for the casual person than it is for someone who depends on it. Have anyone come up with strange hobbies? I think Ruth is coming over. Ruth, we believe in you. You need to turn your speaker. There you go.
There I am. I didn't know I had the power to do that. I've forgotten what I was going to say now. I found more at the beginning, when there wasn't much I could do, that I went back to what I knew, arts for relaxation and creativity, and having the time to be creative. I wouldn't necessarily have taken part in this Camberwell A to Z another time, because I would be doing other things. But because I could, I used my creative energy, and any energy really, to do what I could do. But then that wasn't my employment. That was, like you say, it was relaxation.
I think
Francesca's going and we can't hear her. Sorry, I muted you all during the video.
I was actually talking to Eduardo, but I guess the newest thing I've done was yesterday, when we did the Papermobiles workshop with Florence, and that was so nice, and it's actually hanging in our rooms now. So, but apart from that, a lot of reading, which was nice for a change.
Yeah, I've been reading For Whom the Bell Tolls for about 3 months, because they got it out of the library just before this happened, and a few days later it came on the TV as a film, so I recorded it with the intention of watching the film once I'd finished the book. And then this festival happened, which was quite a big learning curve, and I haven't finished the book at all. I was really burning a hole in my bedside locker, just want to get it done. I think it might be interesting for us who have been part of the festival committee of what's going to happen tomorrow, when the thing that you know, I know Nuala, who's here. Wave, Nuala. Does our Instagram and Twitter, but it means that she needs to be logged on quite a lot of the day. And I'm furloughed, but I've been kind of working essentially 9 to 5 in this for the last few weeks. So it'll be an interesting thing now, Vicky, that we're starting to enter, well, I am at least, the state that you're talking about, where it's fun for a week or two and then it gets quite apocalyptic. But we'd love, Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I mean, Vicky, do you feel that you would have come up with quite a different work if you'd started this earlier into lockdown? Because it sort of feels like there has been this sort of slightly roller coaster journey where there was initial panic and then actually people started to think, and there's been amazing creative responses from the arts sector. So people have very quickly kind of adapted and started doing projects online and Zoom theatre productions, and we're getting these unique insights into museums and ballet dancers practicing at home. It's all been quite wonderful, and now all of a sudden it's like we've been there and we've seen how creative everyone's been, but actually that doesn't help us through the next stages, kind of thing.
I think that's exactly it. I mean, I've written stuff and a few exactly after the initial panic, the sort of the middle section where I made some lighter stuff. I wrote. I've written spec scripts of stuff. I've done lots of stuff, and then now it's like, no, I need some answers now. From a personal point of view, I've got a show on at the Lyric Hammersmith at Christmas, and we need to know now. It's all getting too close to the wire, and it's frightening if that goes. If the big Christmas job goes, the trickle down effect of that is enormous, and so yeah, it's very tricky to write anything else now that's not give us a
It is sort of, I mean, I think there is this whole thing within the arts sector is that people will continue to overlook, how many benefits it brings to the economy. And so this kind of lack of forward thinking, wouldn't see it in any other sector that was as profitable to the country. And so this isn't about bailing out individual artists as much as individual artists need bailing out. It's actually about bailing out an enormously important sector for us, kind of thing. And what do you think it's going to take for the country to listen to that?
I honestly don't know. I mean, there's so much going around. I go on Twitter at any given moment, and there's different friends all passing around surveys and Arts Council reports, and so everyone that's involved in this is doing what they can. I think it's right. It's right from the top of the House of Cards. Right, the whole thing is at every part of it, everyone is experiencing difficulties. And I think it's mostly that it's not just like we need 3 weeks notice to put on a show. You don't. I mean, everything is such a long way ahead. I think that's the hard thing is the not understanding of really got to know about Christmas now. That's the and I think as I said before, most people are scared arts because the show that I'm writing for. I know that it makes its entire income to at Christmas on a pantomime to allow itself to do more creative work. So that Christmas show, that big Christmas, bring everybody into a theatre, and then then money can be spent on more interesting stuff. And if that doesn't happen, the feed of the money is gone, and I think there's no urgency towards getting the answers for that.
Yeah, well, I think it would be interesting to hear what other artists who've been taking part in the festival have to say on this subject. I mean, I think we probably anticipated final closing party. You sort of think, it's a bit of a pat on the back and we can all relax and wind down slightly. But I think it is actually quite an interesting way to sort of end with, actually this isn't okay. We've done an online festival as a one-off. We've always hoped that it would. Well, we've always hoped that it would be one-off, and right now it is feeling a little bit fearful about where things are going. So it would be lovely if everybody who's been involved in the festival, maybe tomorrow when you've had time to think about it all, if you all kind of sort of use the heading "We are not okay," and send us any kind of messages that you'd like us to send collectively, from the Camberwell Arts Sector's behalf to Southwark Council, Lambeth Council, the Arts Council. I think it would be a kind of, one of the things we want to do through our evaluation process, which Sean will talk you through, is to find out, what we can do for people during this time as a sort of small arts charity. But we'd also be very happy to share a kind of collective message with the Arts Council, who've supported this festival, but need to, I guess, have a take on what this has meant individually for people in terms of how it's affected their practice, how they see their practice moving forward. So yeah, just if everybody who's on the Zoom call and everybody who's been part of the festival adds to that kind of collective idea of we're not okay, and what is it going to take for us to be okay, that would be, I think, a fantastic outcome.
Great.
Kind of final event. So yeah, thank you very much for that.
Thanks
work.
for
And I don't know if others have got any questions for Vicky, or if people have just got something else they would like to share with us, talk about their own experience during the festival.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to Camberwell Arts Festival for giving us a platform to share our work. That's been really amazing. So I'd just like to say a big thanks. And it was all very last minute as well, a lot of support. And Sean has been amazing. So thank you.
You might be happy to know, Joyce, that when I checked it, I think it was either last night or this morning, Story of Sam King was either 6 or 7 rated on the website for the month.
Wow.
Which is quite good. So I'll be taking screenshots of all the figures afterwards, which I'm sure some people will find very interesting because they're at the top and others won't. So we won't share them. But yeah, there's been a really, really good reaction to Sam King, and even a few people getting in touch being like, did I miss it? You're like, no, it's recorded, you're fine. On a similar note, Wes had some interesting comments yesterday on his live stream.
Yeah.
Did you interesting to share, or?
Well, basically, because my presentation was a combination of poetry and some tarot designs I've done, and some of the followers on Facebook wanted me to read their fortune, which I don't do. And in particular, I'm not in a position to tell anyone whether a particular person is in love with them or not, which is a shame because I could make a lot more money out of doing that, I'm sure. But yeah, that was interesting, and I echo everything Joyce said, and particularly Shauna, thanks for fielding those inquiries for me.
Absolutely. And thank you for your tips on cutting up the reel today. It was quite good. And I just, for some people that haven't been involved maybe in the festival before, I actually, if it's okay, I would like to share screens of just two quick things from Sheila and Ruth, who I don't know, have you been involved in the festival before?
I have not at all. No.
Okay, so this is Sheila's. If you want to explain to us, Sheila, you started with skipping selfies, and I don't know how you could pull this off.
You use a timer.
Ah, I see. I thought you had a special person with a tripod.
But it's still potluck what you get, obviously.
And then
you get some where you trip over the rope and you've made a complete fool of yourself, or you get some where you jump quite high. It looks quite effective.
And I've just closed Ruth's one. Sorry. Yeah, there was something recently, the Camberwell Rainbow, and everybody was jumping in front of it, and you're like, how many shots did you take for that? And then I just wanted to share, Ruth, your stuff as well, because you seem to really respond to all of the healthcare work. So your mother worked, was it in King's or the Maudsley?
Maudsley and the Institute of Psychiatry.
Maudsley,
yeah. That's from when she was there. It wasn't just work; it was part of life, including my life. I got involved in it as well. So that's my parents with the fate at Maudsley in the 70s with the Pearly Queen, and the bottom left as you look at it.
Oh, wonderful!
So
we
they
have a Pearly Queen here.
Oh yeah, for years. I don't know if we still do. Yeah, it's London.
I've met the Pearly Queen of Greenwich. But I didn't know
what you
that
mean.
Camberwell.
Yeah,
Well, it might be Southwark. It might be.
Bermondsey, but I haven't met one around Camberwell.
No, maybe not. Maybe not, and it might have been Southwark as well. But because that would have been after local government reorganisation, so Southwark was Camberwell, Bermondsey, and Dulwich probably all put together. So
between our new Bard of Camberwell that Wes has suggested, and we can get a new Pearly Queen of Southwark, we might get something out of this. And then the only other person I just wanted to say hi to is Phoebe, because Phoebe, I don't know if you've been part of this before, but I'm just going to show everyone a bigger version of the lovely work that you have in the background, which I don't have open, obviously, because that would be far too organised. Very nice. So we got a lot of work for Ruskin Park this year. Ruskin Park and Burgess Park. But it was quite nice because Phoebe sent us this. You want to tell us a bit more about it, Phoebe? It seems like it was a very hot day.
Yeah, so since the lockdown, I'm mostly a self-trained artist, and I hate to say, but I didn't really do any artwork for years. And it sort of took the lockdown for me to get back into it. And I started drawing people's gardens, views from my own window, but changing the colours so it was a bit more exciting than what I was seeing every day. And then when I saw R for Ruskin Park, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to go and draw the bandstand in Ruskin Park. But it was such a sunny day, and it was really colourful. So I thought, try and capture that in the drawing.
But you've definitely given it justice. Yeah, it was quite interesting. I don't know, people may want to speak to this, but the A to Z part, the parks were by far the most popular, which I believe is a symptom of the time that we're in. If anybody has any comments on that. Fried chicken, nothing. I had to go get my own pictures.
And yeah, people would have been very upset if fried chicken wasn't included. So it was important to include it.
Who's that at Stonehenge?
I think it's a backdrop of Stonehenge. Hi.
Hey, Debbie.
Hello.
So yeah, I thought maybe I'm going to show you our highlights reel. And while you're watching, it'd be really good for people to think about. We don't want to be too strict on our feedback sessions and ruin the party, which is already online. But if you want to think about kind of what the festival has done this year, because it's likely that there's going to be some sort of digital aspect of it going forward. What do you want to keep? What do you want to see more of? And if you don't feel comfortable telling us when we go around the table later, then do drop us an email. But we'd like to know what you guys think could be a nice way forward as we try and mix this, I don't know, somewhat physical, somewhat digital festival. And now I'm going to awkwardly try and get the highlights reel up and share. So, one moment. I hope you all know that I've ruined my Sunday doing this, so you better enjoy it.
Kiss me like you would your mother. Kisses of another. That's the only music that was ever meant for me.
And finally, we get to the only bit of Mendelssohn in the whole song, which is this tune. Love me to that ever-loving spring song melody. Please me, honey, squeeze me to that Mendelssohn strain. Kiss me like you would your mother. One good kiss deserves another.
The exhibition has a title. It is I See You. And I've taken that from something the Bushmen of the Kalahari say when they meet another person in their sparsely populated desert homeland. It's an acknowledgement. It acknowledges the other person, and the other person acknowledges them. And I think picture taking is a part of that acknowledgement process. It's something that I think we all like to have and would make the world a much nicer place if we did, in fact, acknowledge each other a lot more. It might make us a great deal more civil.
You best go find out.
You know, just jumping in, and I'm a great believer in just jumping in at the deep end, really, and learning about, making mistakes as you go and learning from them. And I think from the production's point of view, which no regrets whatsoever, we took on a great deal on our own. So as well as the writing and the directing, we essentially produced the whole thing, costumes, locations, all of that aspect. So I mean, we certainly learned quite quickly that there's a lot of pieces to the pie, which we were aware of anyway. But when you find yourself actually in that, it's a lot to think about. So.
So I was like, we need to get it right. There's no way. And it was interesting because at the Young Vic, when the performance was finished, everyone thought my name was Simone. So they presumed, everyone's like, oh, this show's really amazing. Like, where's this director? Where's the writer? And I would walk out and they were like, what? It was like, you wrote this? Are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And it was like, so that was cool. That was really interesting.
It's not big.
What I felt was lacking in horror was what I put into this film. So that would be where my inspiration came from, because even though horror is my favorite genre, it's very rare that you find Black horrors, and I don't even know if I've ever seen another Black female-led horror.
I got it from an old lady called Florence, and so I used to go and visit her a few times a week. She was called Florence, and she lived on Florence Road in Islington, and she drank at the Florence pub, which was her local. And now when I go there, I feel like, I don't know, she's not there anymore, and like that pub isn't open anymore, and I feel like the area's kind of forgotten her. So.
We have just got the news through that we're going to be battling Marv 1 and Quest McCody, two battle veterans from Detroit, as on his battle.
Which, if you know them, is mental, because
yeah,
it's going to physically look ridiculous, us standing opposite them.
Are they mates with Eminem? I swear they are.
I think one of them is.
We have to bring that up.
Or even Ireland. Oh, yeah, I'm a great rapper from Ireland. You're like, yeah, right, you are. All right, Marcus.
Hey, did I just hear that you dropped some bars that I missed, Ara?
Yeah,
all I heard was I haven't dropped bars for a hot minute.
Yeah, I dropped this.
Oh wait, this is lame. I've got the dead gallery. I don't have the gallery view, so I didn't see what Ara just did.
He held up the bars book.
There we go.
I could bring it up as well.
Can you hear me? If I talk, will you see it? If I talk, will you see it? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going to drop any gags, visual.
Yeah, I just dropped that.
Anyway, late because he's just spent the whole time lighting his room properly, hasn't he?
Now, my father's history is an amazing one in that, as you said, he was a mayor of Southwark. He was the first black mayor of Southwark. So the why now goes really into, this is our history and our youth need to know. This is our history and we need to know, our age group. This is our history and it's so positive. The indigenous general population of the UK need to know their historical truths.
Why is this plugged in?
Because yours was running low.
It says it's not charging.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not worse.
There were some young children who were still up at this time, which I was somewhat surprised about, as it was quite late in the evening. However, as dusk fell, the beast emerged across the green. Now, some of you are thinking the poor children, they must have been terrified by the appearance of this monster. They must have been terrified. No, they weren't. The monster, far from mauling the children, the monster was mauled by the children of Camberwell.
Woo! To health, life, and love. Oh.
The bulge in bald eagle means white patch. I'm a bald eagle. I have no equal, yet I will keep full like I'm seagull, because I still small bird's food hole, and I ransack a bin like a bit bullfinch. Sorry, girl, but I'm so regal, you'll believe my diet's legal. Dollar bills, a pillow to me, so how you gonna call my lifestyle deceitful? I'll feed my eaglets, egrets, vagrants. I got royal feet for oiled eats, because being an osprey, talons tethered fish, and one can twist to hold the other way. A collector's one time wiped us out in the UK. We recolonized the British Isles by flying from Norway. And though predatory, my territory is only my nest eerie breed. Effectively, collectively, I built my nest up yearly. I don't.
His ship left, and she didn't know. She made her way down to the seaside, to the ruined garden, where she sat on the swing, and she waited. She watched the sun disappear over the horizon in a great red glowing ball. And it grew dark, and she waited, and he still didn't come. It was a moonless night and very dark, and she waited. A presence settled on the swing beside her. Perhaps it was him.
T. Taking that tooth, I trace 2 short white tracks on the stone with it. First top to bottom, next left to right. T denotes the spot.
I thought my heart was gonna burst. I was just a teenager.
Abide with me, fast falls the eventide.
Hi everyone, I'm gonna read my poem now. Nothing to do, united always to screw. Camp forever, leap whenever. Eat to live, act to live. Right my way, bunker used anyway. Underground bunker, night in bunker, made me hunker. King of bunkers, eating, made him hunker. Right way, my way. Bye.
Shauna, you're muted.
Oh, is that what it is?
What I was trying to say is, well, I'm glad you're clapping. You're clapping for yourselves. I'm so glad in a way. You know, obviously we wish that all of this wasn't happening, but because it's been digital, we can put together something like that and show kind of breadth of what can happen in a festival over the course of a few days. And also, for once, we can finally track on the website how many people have been engaging. So it's really positive in its own strange, unusual way. But yeah, looking at that, is there anything that people would be interested in seeing more of when we hopefully by this time next year get to have a physical festival? Like, is live streaming and digital content something that we should be doing?
I think Nuala said in the chat, the digital festival is great for having an archive of the work for people who can't attend it. And it's also one of the few positives that's come out of this is when there are live performances, having much more live streaming makes it possible for people to experience it who can't often get there otherwise. And that includes audiences and performers. And so I'm really hoping that one positive that comes out of all this is that it makes us all much more aware of the things that we can do to improve accessibility. And I mean, not just for Camberwell Festival, but for the arts in general. I run a book group up at Canada Water Library, and we've been doing that by Zoom during lockdown. And I now think that there's no reason why we shouldn't offer a Zoom book group in normal times so that people can get there who can't otherwise. So there is that to take forward for sure.
I think that because so many people now have become familiar with Zoom, that it's going to be a lot easier to take that as part of the festival. I think if we had tried to do it without that familiarity with the technology, it would have been a bigger step.
I'm going to switch over to David, who hasn't spoken yet, but has a fantastic background. But very quickly to say, Laura, who is currently in a car and so can't connect to the internet, I think it's great for artists themselves to have a record of their work that they can embed into their own, I assume she's saying website, but it kind of trailed off from there. So how about you, David? You had an interesting thing that you had an exhibition up. I remember you passed me a postcard for it months ago, and then it was up and it was mothballed and now it's back.
Yeah, well, the whole experience was a bit strange. I put it up thinking anything could happen, and of course the worst thing did happen. It no sooner had I put it up than it had to, no one was allowed to see it. But I mean, the experience for me was, and I'm just listening to Vicky, your references, and my background is as a commercial photographer, and I'm thinking, sorry to slip and flip straight back to an earlier conversation, but you know, the arts is such a broad thing. As a practitioner, a commercial practitioner, and an artist, and I always was, you know, people, there's such it's like a web of people that are feeding into the whole process. You know, so I would take photographs and they could involve, you know, you'd get your client would be the art director, there'd be a copywriter, but you could involve stylists, set builders, model makers, and wardrobe and studio hire, and then people. And there's just this whole wide web of people who feed into the art on the commercial side. And quite often they're single practitioners, as I was, and so they slip by unnoticed almost. And as you're saying, there's that, you know, people. Yeah, I just think it's worth knowing that there's just huge numbers of people out there. For example, I'll give you a good example. I once had a model made by Ron Muick because he was a model maker, and he went on to much bigger and bigger things. But you know, that kind of person exists on their own, and that's what's being lost. That is potentially what's being lost. But for myself, the experience of having this exhibition and doing it virtually, which was a great suggestion, thank you, Shauna, was that I had no reference for how to do that or what to do or anything. So I just winged it, as I've always done, and came up with what I did. And it would be great to have constructive feedback onto whether or not that could have been done differently or better or made better. And I think that kind of, if this is going to be an ongoing thing, and it could possibly be, it would be great to have people feedback on what people did, you know, so to make it better, to make it more acceptable, a more, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being involved as well, David, because I initially thought that we were just going to put up a selection of the works that you had as pictures, and then you came in with this amazing film. And obviously you're a photographer, so the lighting is something you know anyway, but I don't know if I've ever seen a house that has so much light in it. We must come and visit afterwards.
It's not my house. I'm lucky enough to have a garden office, which is very well lit.
Oh,
and
lovely.
that's where I am now. So it's, yeah.
And Florence, you did a workshop for us on Friday. And I know that you work with Art in the Park, and you did some fundraising recently to give some kind of accessible workshops via Zoom. How has that whole project been going? And you're on mute. You're not. You're off mute now. You're fine.
Yeah, it's been interesting because we had some workshops already planned that we were going to do physically, and then we reworked them to be on Zoom, and then from there we started thinking, oh, maybe we can do more of this, and it's meant that people from all over have been able to join. So we've had participants from Belgium, from Ireland, from outside of London, which has been pretty cool. That they wouldn't have been able to come to the studio, obviously, which has been an interesting outcome. So we're looking at doing that more. The downside is if you don't have internet access, you can't join in. So a lot of people who come to our workshops physically are older people who don't have internet access, or maybe just don't have the skills to use Zoom. So now that things are opening up a little bit more, we're looking at doing some socially distanced sessions with them, and creating some activity packs maybe. But yeah, it's been interesting learning more about Zoom, and kind of starting to think of Zoom as a space. You can do things that you wouldn't have been able to do, like if that makes sense. Like I did a workshop on yesterday, which with children, where we were drawing spaceships, and then I had the children like fly their spaceships they'd drawn across the screen, which was kind of fun. Like to think about, it's kind of, you think about yourself in a square, and you can kind of do fun things like that.
There was on Tuesday night these two fantastic groups, Anna Bolesky, who is a cabaret MC in partnership with Turinelli and Theatre Delhi, did a cabaret night on Zoom, which puts ours to shame, by the way. They had two screens. There were so many people that had logged into it. And they had about 5 different people on it that were performing. And each of them, you know, when it was their time, they were the one that was unmuted. They did the performance. The chat was going mad. People were putting up like their PayPal or their Monzo accounts so people could make donations. And, you know, it was a very interesting thing because people were like, oh, I haven't seen you in years. We played together 6 years ago. We live other sides of the country. And somebody had heard, I believe, on it that about this cabaret night on Radio 4, but it was from the guy from Normal People. So she logged on to the wrong cabaret and she stayed, which I thought was quite nice. Robin, thank you for joining us. I'm glad you joined us in time for you to see your part of our highlights reel. But I wanted to ask you, because you're one of the people that has been involved that is used to doing something facing a crowd. And I know your flatmate was helping, and very good clapping back track. If you could have seen me, I was clapping too. But how does it feel? Is it strange when usually you're getting this constant feedback and now you hope people appreciate it, but you don't get that like boost for your next poem?
Yeah, I very much appreciate having my flatmate there to give like just normal levels of response, and also like I think you react differently when you can see other people's emotional response. So like if other people are laughing at your joke, you'll sort of give them time to laugh, and you'll also smile a bit maybe. And so yeah, I think that made it very different. Whereas in this case, like because there was no one visible on screen, that it was it's quite isolating. I think just projecting at a black square, or just talking to your own face, and sort of like hoping that there's someone on the other end who's picking up on it and not knowing. So yeah, definitely having someone in the room who can react, I think, is useful. And the experience that I've had is, I think generally, I've gone to other things similarly, and people there are using the chat function to say things like clap, like just so you know that someone is clapping for you, and that's quite handy as well.
Or one of these lovely things.
Yeah, that works.
And I found as well, you had your outfit and your stage quite set up, and was that a conscious effort of like trying to elevate the situation because you weren't going to get this back and forth?
Oh, so the original background is actually entirely set by my housemate, because they're a music teacher and they do Zooms there on a daily basis. Then I moved around, and the other side of the stage was something I'd set up to make it sort of look more like different, but also under the sea-based, because I did some sea-based poetry. So yeah, I sort of put some stuffed animals of the sea next to it, and then was using the TV so I could project images and sort of show people things.
Yeah, and we tried to get it at the right angle, so there was no glare. And then now I'm going to go to poor Frog, who got Zoom bombed. But I guess that's another part of this conversation. Is I'm sure you've been a live performer with Camberwell Arts. We've decided for nearly 10 years.
It's not quite there yet. Yeah, I think the Zoom bombing. We've learned a lesson from that, so remember that for next year. But it's an interesting thing, I think, because I think there's a couple of people we've been discussing already. I think the whole reading an audience thing is quite different on Zoom. So I think there's I think we're probably only just starting to get how that audience interaction works, because I think it's still there. It's just in a very different thing, and I think how you play audiences probably is. Yeah, I feel we've only touched the surface of that. But I do think the festival's gone well this year. I think it's pushed me to do stuff that I've not previously done. So I think that's good, and I think for you as well, Sean. I think it's pushed you, both of us, out of our comfort zone to do different stuff that we would. I mean, if this
I'm not a YouTuber, I don't like it.
Live event, which we wouldn't have done any of this at all. I mean, I know you've learned a lot to do this, so. I think.
But it must be quite strange for you, because we saw on the highlights reel about the beast and the children of Camberwell mauling the beast. But even last year in the 2019 festival, you made a piñata, and it was wonderful. But unfortunately, you made the piñata far too strong.
Yeah.
And again was mauled by children. Am I right in saying that someone's father came up with a bat with the thing off and really broke it up
to break that piñata?
So it must be strange in the way that, like, of all the people here, I think you tend to like be most picked up and carried away by the children.
We've not had that this year, so. But no, it's. But I mean, that's the thing about the audience interaction. We had some audience interaction this year, which again wasn't what we expected.
For anyone who wants to know what that was, you can't, because we've edited it out. But yeah, I think if anybody wants to say anything else, do let us know, and we'll stop the stream soon, and then we can have chats regardless. But yeah, we think for the rest of the members of the team, Nuala, Francesca, Kelly, Laura on the chat. How did it go for you?
I think it's just picking up on what everyone says. I really like the idea of a blended festival moving forward, because there's so much good stuff that we can take from the digital and stuff that we can learn from that. And I really agree with Wes's point about accessibility for both artists and the venues and all of that. But the other thing that I'm quite liking what I'm hearing is the idea that people can keep a connection to Camberwell no matter where they move in the world, because obviously, particularly with things like the art college and the medical college and that, people come in and it's quite a transitional place. And I love the idea that people could keep a connection to the place if we were able to deliver this in a way that enabled that. So yeah, I think it's a brilliant thing that we've had to do it online, but not so that we can exclusively do it online in the future, but so that we can learn from that and do something blended. So.
And Karen, do you want to unmute?
I just wanted to reinforce what Nuala said, because I've moved from Camberwell, having been involved with the Arts Festival for just as a volunteer, but for about 20 years, and I'm now in Colchester. And obviously I've been missing the arts. So it's been absolutely great to pick up on some of the things of the Camberwell Festival and to see some familiar faces this evening.
Very good to see you, Karen.
Thank you. And sad news from Colchester, because my favourite art gallery, unfortunately, during this period has announced that it's closed.
Oh no.
And future uncertain. So
well, I guess that's, Vicky, is everything you were talking about earlier. Is if, you know, I work in a museum that's going to make it true because it's a national, but I've got friends that work in startups or small industries that kind of go, you know, I followed my dreams for a while, but I'm going to have to go and, you know, become a 9-to-5 office worker. There's nothing wrong with that, but is what they want to do because they can't make it through the next few years.
The sector is going to have people leaving in its droves because they just can't, they won't be able to take it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Ruth. Yeah, you can talk. You're not on mute.
Okay. I wasn't going to interrupt, though. I didn't want to be pessimistic again, but I think it's worth saying that my experience, having been born in Camberwell and known it all my life, my parents were heavily involved in their early retirement years with trying to preserve cinemas and theatres. That's what they did for their in their spare time, their volunteering time. And they were really worried about cinemas in particular, but also theatres. They were all under threat in the 80s and the 90s because of videos at the time and more television, and everyone thought they wouldn't survive, and obviously a lot did close. So they spent a lot of their time campaigning to keep cinemas open and keep them going, and they were really concerned. And the ones that did stay turned into multiplexes, and you lost the character of the big buildings. And I don't know what they would have thought of this crisis that we're in now. This is a totally different type of crisis where it's not one at a time or a trickle. It's happening to everybody at the same time. So it's such a much bigger challenge. And I was just thinking, when listening to other people speak, whether, I suppose one thing that maybe people haven't done yet is to compose things, invent things that can be one or another. So then it's not abortive work. You could produce it either virtually or in person. That would be really clever, to come up with something that would work for either. Whatever kind of thing it is, whether it's a song or a play or whatever it is. So that's all I was going to add.
Yeah, it feels like the movement that most of us have been making initially, you know, like the National Theatre online, which is amazing. I keep falling asleep on a Friday night when I try and watch it and then forget, and then don't get to see the second half of any of these plays. But even they had Streetcar Named Desire recently, and it was amazing. But there was moments where I dipped out, whereas you know that if you were in there in the theatre in the round, you couldn't look away. And it's, you know, first thing for arts organisations is to put out the content that they already have. But the next step is for them to figure out a way that they can present something that's equally as useful or engaging in the digital as in the physical. And I can't wait to see it, but I'm really glad I'm not the person who has to think of it. I'm quickly just going to go to Nicole, who has peeped in right at the end. sorry, who worked on the alphabet, the animated alphabet that we saw earlier, and you weren't here for it, Nicole.
Yeah, sorry, I was late. Father's Day commitments and whatnot. But yeah, no, Frog and I worked. I'm sure Frog explained it as well as I possibly could do. Yeah, no, thank you for hosting it. I hope people enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's everyone really should go on the website and see it. Some of them are gifs and some of them are images. But the Magic Lantern is come from an old traveling show type of scenario. Is that true?
Do you want to explain, Frog? You're better at it than me.
Actually, I think it was Ruth was just talking about how cinema kind of almost died and then kind of came back again and be one of the mediums that will come through this probably okay. I think in the end, though somewhat changed. Now, I think Magic Lantern was something that pretty much vanished for many score years. And we're still finding ways to do it. But I think that's the thing about artists. I mean, it's difficult times, but I think that's what marks a creative person, is the fact that you can adapt and you can change to these situations. And I think we're only just beginning to do that. And I think that this is the start of something that could be kind of quite a lot bigger, I think. So yes, yeah.
A quick question. If anybody does want to jump in, but something that Camberwell Arts has been talking about for quite a while. We have long-term projects like the Artist Directory that we never had time to do, and we've finally gotten up. And now a digital marketplace. Thank you very much, Francesca, for getting that in time, which I believe was a labour of love. But we've often talked about having the festival happens twice a year, but it's big in the summer, and then the winter markets sell quite well. But we would love to be able to do more to engage throughout the year. And we were actually working on plans on how to do that at the start of this year. And then, everything went down. We'd just written a new vision and mission. But I think going online, I'd like to hear what people think, in the next few months could be an interesting way of doing a Camberwell Presents once a month whilst we're waiting for the physical to come back.
Yeah.
And also, Joyce has just pointed out that the story of Claudia Jones was completely done on Zoom.
Yeah, we the whole thing. It had been written for
a bit where you danced that I wanted to include, but you were dancing at our festival, so I thought that would have been rude. How did that work?
So literally, we did all the rehearsals on Zoom. The director was in Sheffield. Dana, the actress, and it was the first time acting for her, and she was in Sheffield somewhere else. I was here in London, and yeah, so it was all done. We did all the rehearsals on Zoom, and then we did the live stream in Zoom with a connection to Vimeo. I don't understand how all that all worked, but it was.
You don't want to.
Yeah. So I take my hat off to you doing all the stuff that you're doing. I couldn't believe it was you doing all of the digital stuff there. Well done. But yeah,
as a point, Joyce kept calling me. And I'd be like, I'm in the middle of this. I have to put it down. But yeah, and I think that's also an interesting thing. So Joyce's story of Claudia Jones it's a play, isn't it, Claudia?
Yeah.
Sorry, Joyce. Have you written the rest of the play yet?
No. So it's been an incredible adventure, really, because I've never written a play before in my life. And at Christmas, I was in a situation where I found myself writing something, which I thought, is this a play? Have I written the first act of a play? I wasn't sure. And so I decided to go on when I was away when I did it. When I came back, I decided to go on a course so someone could see my work to tell me if it was a play or not. And the instructor said to me, the teacher said to me, oh, Joyce, have you written a play before? Oh, and I've gone, no. She goes, well, this is what a script looks like. And it needs to have some dialogue. So I thought, okay, Joyce, you haven't written a play. So by the end of the 5 days, you need to have something that you can show to the group at the end of the 5 days. And that's where I met Claudia on the last day at lunchtime. And I said to her, would you mind just reading what I've done? And she read it. And I thought, oh my God, my play's got legs. And so she did the reading that night. And everybody said it was great. We needed to do it to produce it. And it was just the first act mind for me to see whether it was something that could work or not. And so the idea was to actually try and produce this first act as a theatre production, and then there was no theatre, and so we had to repurpose it to do it digitally, and that's what's happened. So it's all been very quick, very fast, and yes, I now need to write the rest of it, but at least I've seen that it can work and it is telling the story. So yeah, so that's been amazing. So in a way, I think us having to go digital is going to be much more experience in doing it and much more exposure, because I've been able to share it as well with the Camberwell Arts Festival, which has been incredible. And so,
Wandsworth will give you that.
Yeah.
They did help fund it.
So it is, very challenging times, but I'm quite excited by it all, because I think it gives a lot of people, like you've said, someone was saying before, because a lot of people the opportunity to be involved.
Yeah.
I myself have got disabilities. It's hard for me to get out and about, so I've been able to be really active. So Zoom's been like a godsend to me, and I shall never go into town for another meeting. But so I think it gives a lot of people lots of possibilities, and it's reached audiences that wouldn't have been reached before. And I know that I've had people contacting me from Spain because they want to get involved with what's going on. So yes, it's a challenge. Yes, we have to do things differently. But I think it has opened up a lot of opportunities that weren't there before. And for me, the next challenge is to see how we can get to do a production digitally where you've got a much larger audience. And what I want to do is actually have community theatre, so we actually get the community involved in making the theatre. So
that's amazing. And one of the best things that's come out of this is we've been able to strike up a chat with myself and Joyce, and we will have a coffee, and we're going to see what we can do for 2021. Because I think it'd be really nice to get you kind of involved long term. I'm going to go to Kelly, who's, I believe, trying to say something.
Well, I suppose I just wanted to make the point that it is very interesting, the possibilities offered, but I think I think somebody mentioned earlier this idea of the digital divide, and I think that's where there's a sort of real problem going forward. I think we're going to miss the physical in all kinds of ways, and obviously we're hoping that it comes back sooner than it may feel at the moment. But I think this assumption that we can do so much online does sort of not cover the question of all those people who don't have online access. And so I think that's sort of one of the things we'll be looking at, whether we can do anything later in the year. One of the things we've been doing is we've shared frogs, because it was easy for us to sort of print out. We've been sharing your artwork frog with food banks and with the children's ward in the local hospital. So I think there are those audiences that we were really hoping to do a lot more with this year that we probably have done less as a result of going online. So I think the whole blended approach in the future is a really interesting way forward. But I think we mustn't overlook those that don't have access to the internet. And I'm aware now that we've sort of kept you all here for quite a long time. So I wanted to say that we will be getting our online evaluation form up tomorrow, we hope. So there's an opportunity for you to give us more honest feedback if you have felt that there's things you wanted to say that you've held back from tonight. So please do go to our online evaluation form. And I think we're also we're hoping that there'll be an opportunity to get together physically at some point in the future. So, in one of the sort of Camberwell pubs, we hope to sort of have an evening where we can bring some projects together, but more to the point, I think just have a drink with you all kind of thing. And see you all in person. So, yeah, just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been involved, but particularly Shauna. I think people have been saying it to you all night, but you really have pulled this together for us online. So that was me just wanting to kind of sort of put something in to say thank you on behalf of Camberwell Arts to everyone who's been involved, and to encourage you to go to our website tomorrow to contribute online and give us any suggestions for how we can share some of these digital with wider audiences.
We agree.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and we hope to see you all next year. Bye bye.